Hello again, everyone. This is Kimberly Hobby. I am the founder and CEO of Hummingbird Haven Incorporated, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our mission is to empower veterans and their family members to be able to maneuver through any situation. And we do that through access to wraparound services, one-on-one and group therapy, as well as life coaching, and a holistic approach to healing through yoga and meditation. What we will talk about today, as I promised last week, is the PTSD and its effects on relationships and families. So let's get started. And today I'm going to use a PowerPoint to make it a little more engaging. So, questions to consider. What is the toughest issue for you and your family in living with a veteran that has PTSD? I will say that one of my toughest issues is when he gets upset about the small things. And what seems to happen is it could be, let's just give an example, babe, pick your fork up off the floor. And it becomes, why are you getting on me about every little thing? When at the end of the day, it may have been something that triggered him somewhere along the way prior to that engagement, and it became something big as opposed to little. So how do I cope? I cope sometimes by just not allowing it to escalate. And I'll say, sometimes truthfully, I'll just say, and okay, and I'll walk away, or I'll, won't say anything more and just allow the processing time to take place. Sometimes I will say it is my fault and not about the fort, but there might be something else that I might have done or said, because I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect, and no relationship is perfect. So there's sometimes when I need to examine myself. But in those moments when I do know that it may be something he has been dealing with, or something that may have triggered him, when it's something small like that and it was blown out of proportion, I know that, let's just leave it alone. And sometimes he'll come back and apologize, or we'll just, out of his kindness, he'll do something kind, and we'll just leave it alone and keep moving forward. The other question here is, how has the veterans' social anxiety affected the family life? So I do know that one thing that has happened, we'll be getting ready to go to an event, and what will happen is he'll say, well, do we have to go, or how long are we going to stay here? And even though he may have been excited leading up to that day, if there's something that has taken place and he does not want to go, I have to then question myself, do I want to go? And if I do, then I'll say to him, honey, I understand that this is not something that you want to do right now, and that's okay. I do still want to go, and I hope you will understand me leaving. And 9 times out of 10, he's cool with it. And though there are times, I think I mentioned it before, we have to compromise. Let's just get there. And if you decide you want to stay a short time or a long time, then we can compromise and we'll stay a short time or a longer time. But these are things that you have to understand with someone who has PTSD. Isolation is a big thing. And families may become isolated due to the social anxiety of the veteran. So one of the things that right there is secondary trauma. Don't isolate yourself just because of your veteran's anxiety. Don't allow yourself to become someone who's isolated because, he or she doesn't want to entertain family or friend engagements. That's not for you. If you want to go, you go. Veterans sometimes often feel uncomfortable in large groups and crowds, and as a result, the family may be quite limited in their activities. So for instance, I know that Dodocio does not like to go to uh, firework displays. That, of course, is going to trigger something in him because, loud booms, explosions, they relate. So I know that we're not going to go to a fireworks display together. I also know that he does not like, let's say, cruises. And one of the reasons he doesn't like cruises is because when the Beirut bombing happened and he was there, he was on the naval ship called the Iwo Jima at the time when he saw the bombing and all the bodies coming onto the ship. That is not something he likes to experience because it was out in the middle of the water and he felt like he had no control. So when he is challenged to do that, take a ferry ride, the thought is, what's the escape and how fast can I get out? And when you're in the middle of water, that's not a safe space for him. So I know that. He's entertaining the thought now, which I'm excited about. And I know that it may take time. If it doesn't happen, then I'll go on cruising with my friends. And in the meantime, we'll go on vacation in islands and other states and stuff like that. So there are things that we can do together, and there are things that we may not be able to do together, and I'm okay with that. So the veteran, he or she may pressure the family member directly or indirectly to stay home with him or her, thereby narrowing family members' social contacts. Family members often feel guilty for pursuing independent activities. This has to change. You cannot allow yourself to get caught up in the veteran's PTSD. Point blank being, you are an individual first. You were independent before you became dependent. So, and a good example, you came into this world alone, you're going to depart from this world alone. Do not allow yourself not to go out and be a part of the community because your veteran does not want to be a part of the community. So what happens is sometimes secondary trauma and codependency can go hand in hand. Trauma can be damaging in many ways. To physical health, it can be damaging to emotional health and to relationships. Sorry about that. And to relationships. Any type of trauma can lead to relationships that are codependent. The person who experienced the trauma feels completely and destructively dependent on another. So don't allow his codependency on you to keep you from doing things, and don't allow yourself to become a codependent to him, feeling like you have to be there, feeling like you have to, babysit him, feeling like you can't go out and do you. Do you, boo. Families may develop these relationships, but they also occur in intimate relationships. To break the bad habit of codependency, a person must address the problem and begin healing from the trauma, thereby releasing the codependent behavior. So healing, you just as well as your veteran can get healing. You need to get therapy. And that's okay if you need to get therapy, because you cannot allow his problem to be your problem. And secondary trauma, that's the biggest thing. We allow their problem to become our problem, and we can't allow ourselves to do that. We need to learn how to release it through healing, through therapy, through group sessions. Whatever's going to help you, that's what you need to do. So now some of the effects of combat veterans PTSD on relationships and families are emotional distress. It can cause, PTSD can cause veterans to withdraw emotionally, leading to difficulties in expressing their feelings and connecting with their loved ones. So one of the things I read from time to time again on some of the veteran wives pages is that, you know, the disconnect that happens between the wife and the husband, or the husband and the wife, whichever way it goes, when the person that has PTSD, when they disconnect from you and anyone else around them, they're not doing it because of something you did. That's what I mean by releasing ownership of it. It's not something that you did. This is something that is going on in their mind. This is anxiety that they're dealing with. This is that mind shift, because if you remember in part one, the first video that I did, understanding PTSD, you remember I showed you what the PTSD brain looks like. And it's a huge adrenaline rush that's taking place in their head. And they're dealing with anger, they're dealing with wanting to be around people, not knowing how to be around people. They're dealing with what to say to somebody and what not to say to somebody. All of this is going on in their head. It has nothing to do with you. They need to process through that before they can engage in communication with you on any level. They may become emotionally numb, they may detach, or are unable to experience joy or intimacy, which can put a strain on your relationship, which is why it's important that if your veteran is not getting therapy, that you get therapy. You may encourage them to get therapy just because you're going to get therapy. The next one is hypervigilance and irritability. Combat veterans with PTSD often experience hypervigilance, which is a state of constant alertness and heightened sensitivity to potential threats. This is why it's so hard for them to go out into the community and engage with other people. They may become easily irritable because if something triggered it, they are irritable. And for me, I'm able to see that shift happen when my husband does get irritable. They are prone to anger outbursts and have difficulty controlling their emotions, which can create tension and conflict within the family. Another one is avoidance and isolation. Veterans with PTSD may develop an avoidance behaviors as a coping mechanism to prevent triggering traumatic memories or emotions. Some of those behaviors can be negative, such as drinking alcohol, being a codependent to drugs, or dependent on drugs. That is something most veterans will do, not all. Those who are getting therapy are better able to manage it, which is why it's so important for us to encourage that. They may avoid social gatherings, public places, or situations that remind them of their trauma. Just like I said, my husband doesn't want to go on cruises, and I understand that, leading to social isolation and limited participation in family activities. And I'm not going to say they will stay away from all family activities, but they might want to stay away from most, especially if something has happened to trigger their PTSD and they don't feel the need to be around other people. Not the need, but they don't feel like being around other people. Communication problems. PTSD can impair communication skills, making it challenging for veterans to express their thoughts, their needs, and concerns effectively. They may have difficulty articulating their experiences or may avoid discussing their trauma altogether, leading to misunderstandings and frustration within the family. When you know better, you do better. So if you understand PTSD, you'll know, okay, let me pull aside, allow them to process. It doesn't have to be tension all the time. It's just about knowing when to speak, knowing when not to speak, knowing when to engage with one another, knowing when not to engage with one another. And at those times of not engaging with one another, that's when self-care comes in. Take some time for you. There can be relationship strains. The strain caused by PTSD can lead to increased conflicts, arguments, and a breakdown in trust between the combat veteran and their partner or family members. The non-affected family members may struggle to understand the veteran's behaviors, leading to feelings of frustration, helplessness, and even resentment. Again, when you understand PTSD, you're better able to handle or manage when a PTSD episode occurs. Family role changes. PTSD can disrupt family dynamics and lead to role reversals. For example, a veteran who previously held a caregiving role may become emotionally or physically dependent on their partner or children. This shift in roles can cause stress and strain on family members who may struggle to adapt to the changes. And then there's, of course, we've been talking about it, secondary trauma. Family members, particularly spouses and children, may experience secondary trauma or compassion fatigue as they witness the veteran's emotional struggles and may be exposed to the effects of their trauma. This can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and deterioration of their own mental health. That is so important to understand that whole secondary trauma thing and how it can pierce the very soul of a person. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in it. Compassion fatigue is another word for it. I love the way they say that, which is also another word for codependency. Don't allow yourself to get caught up and stay stuck in secondary trauma. You can overcome it. And your spouse can get the help he needs, you can get the help you need, and you guys can move forward in a way that is fulfilling for both of you. And I know I keep repeating myself about getting a therapy and moving forward, but you can. There is hope, because a lot of this sounds so like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So the next slide is going to help us understand that, yes, while all of this stuff exists, there are ways to be able to get past it. Intimacy and sexual problems. PTSD can affect a veteran's ability to engage in intimate relationships and may lead to sexual difficulties. Symptoms such as hypervigilance, nightmares, and intrusive thoughts can interfere with their ability to feel safe and connected during intimate moments. I do know that my husband sometimes have nightmares, and those nightmares appear so real to him that it's hard for him to connect the next day. It is hard for him to be able to express the nightmare. And there are nightmares where he don't even want to talk about them because they were so real. So it kind of throws them off, but with time, they can get back on the path. And again, you can move forward. It is important to remember that not all combat veterans with PTSD experience the same effects, and the severity of the symptoms can vary. So, taking care of oneself, that is the key to avoiding secondary trauma and to getting beyond the place of being a codependent. Taking care of yourself while being in a relationship with a veteran who has post-traumatic stress disorder is extremely important for both you and your well-being and the overall well-being of your health and the relationship. So here are some suggestions. Educate yourself. Like I just said, the more you know, the better you are. Learn about PTSD, its symptoms, and its triggers. Understand how it affects your partner and the ways it might impact your relationship. This knowledge can help you empathize and respond more effectively to your veteran. Establish your boundaries. Set clear boundaries that promote your own well being. Understand your limits and communicate them to your partner. It is crucial to take care of yourself. Again, it is crucial to take care of yourself and not become overwhelmed by their experiences or their demands. Again, it is crucial to take care of yourself. Seek support. Build a support network for yourself. Reach out to friends and family or support groups because sometimes family and friends don't understand what PTSD, why he reacts or she reacts the way they react. They don't understand because they're not living it every day. So support groups with other people who are dealing with their loved one who has PTSD is the biggest support you can have. Or a friend who's married to a veteran who's suffering from PTSD. So where you can connect, like I said, with others facing similar challenges. Practice self-care. Engage in activities that promote your own physical and emotional well-being. This could include exercises. I exercise every day, except Saturday and Sunday. Hobbies. I don't necessarily have a hobby, but I do like blogging. Meditation. I meditate almost every day. It is so helpful. Journaling, spending time in nature. I go outside in the mornings, I put my feet in the ground and I ground myself. It keeps me grounded. Seeking therapy for yourself. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with you seeking therapy. It is extremely helpful. Prioritize self-care to maintain your own mental health. Communicate openly. Foster some open communication and honest communication with yourself and with your partner. I will say this though, don't expect your partner to automatically open up and talk about what happened to them in combat. They don't like to rehearse that. They don't like to remember it. They want to put it as far back in their mind as possible. So when they do open up about that, if they only open up about it with a therapist or with a fellow veteran, that is okay. Don't force them to tell you that story. If they are willing to, then let them. If they're not, don't. But always voice your opinion about your ability to be, your independent self when it comes to going to family or friend events. Um, so but also share your own concerns and needs. Like I said, healthy communication can help build trust and understanding between the both of you. Be patient and understanding. Understand that PTSD can affect your partner's behavior, mood, and ability to engage in certain activities. Be patient and supportive during difficult times. Avoid judgment or criticism and try to understand their perspective. When they need to pull away, let them pull away. That is your time for self-care. Encourage treatment. Encourage your partner to seek professional help if they haven't already. Like I stated before, I've told my husband you've served your country. It's now time for your country to serve you. That was the triggering thing for him. That might not be the triggering thing for your husband, wife, significant other. The thing that might trigger him is somebody coming to talk to him that's already receiving therapy and is a veteran and is being successful with it. That might help him or her. Therapy, counseling, support groups can assist in managing PTSD symptoms. Some people may not want one-on-one therapy, but they don't mind sitting in a group of other veterans and talking about it. Offer to accompany them to appointments if they're open to it, only if they're open to it. Take breaks. Take breaks. It is essential to take breaks and have time for yourself. Engage in activities that bring you joy and allow you to recharge. This can prevent burnout and help you maintain a healthy balance. Practice stress management. Learn and utilize stress management techniques to cope with challenges you might face. Deep breathing exercises help. Mindfulness helps. Meditation, yoga, and relaxation techniques can help reduce your own stress levels. So that is why it is important. I see a huge impact in my own life when I practice these things daily. Keep perspective. Remember that you are not responsible for your partner's PTSD. Again, I will say, you are not responsible for your partner's PTSD or their healing journey. While your support is valuable, it is crucial to acknowledge that they ultimately need to take ownership of their own well-being. But that don't mean you stop doing you. Go out there, be free, do you. I will say this. Some marriages last. Some marriages, when dealing with PTSD and combat veterans, do not last. I am wife number 6, and I am able to share that because my veteran has shared that. But I am wife number 6. And it wasn't until he got to me and I was able to encourage him in the way that he needed to be encouraged that he went to get the therapy. So I will say, live your life, live it well. Take care of yourself. It is not selfish, it is necessary. Part of maintaining a healthy and sustainable relationship with your veteran is by practicing self-care, seeking support, and fostering open communication. You can support your partner while also prioritizing your own needs. So I hope that was helpful today. Next week, we will move on a little further into self-care and the importance of self-care. We will talk a little bit more about secondary trauma, or STSD, secondary traumatic stress disorder, and we will talk about codependency and delve a little deeper. I'm excited about what's happening here. If you want to email me, you can email me at kim@hummingbirdhaven.org. Again, that's kim@hummingbirdhaven.org. If you want to just ask Dodocio a question with regards to your husband, then you can email him at dodocio@hummingbirdhaven.org. Again, that's dodocio@hummingbirdhaven.org. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. And you can go to hummingbirdhaven.org to check out our website and get more information. Please make a donation if you would like at hummingbirdhaven.org donate page. Every little bit helps and will get us launched out there sooner rather than later. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.